Welcome to the Cabin Culture Podcast, where we spend a little more time diving deeper into all the fun parts of cabin culture. I like to think of this as both the material and imagined expressions of how cabin lovers, dwellers, builders, and designers wish to live a more simple and authentic life. Today, we're welcoming Sarah and Matt from Hyggeland Cabin in upstate New York. I hope I'm saying that right. Who built their own cabin from the ground up. A decision born from a COVID-era road trip and an introduction to Den Outdoors cabin plans. What makes their story compelling is they started dating in May 2020, bought land on their 1-year anniversary, and spent the next 2 years building while navigating a brand new relationship. Sarah grew up in a handy New Hampshire household where building was the norm, while Matt came from Hong Kong and Los Angeles with zero carpentry experience. Their journey became as much about Matt discovering a new identity as a blue-collar builder as it did about creating a physical space. Their unique living situation adds complexity. They actually live in the cabin except for when it's rented, constantly commuting 2.5 hours from their Westchester apartment for turnovers. They touched every piece of wood in their cabin, Matt sanding and Sarah staining, while managing the project themselves and learning to navigate decision fatigue, budget overruns, and relationship dynamics. This hands-on approach has given them deep insights into functional design. We explored their philosophy of building with love, why they chose hourly contractor rates despite the uncertainty, how Matt embedded himself in the local community through volunteer firefighting, and their honest reflections on burnout, relationship strain, and why they're already planning to build another cabin despite saying they'd never do it again. Whether you're considering a DIY build, navigating a major project with a partner, or wondering how to balance living in your rental property, this conversation offers candid insights from a couple who learned everything the hard way. Let's do it. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's cool to finally see you. I've never looked into how you might actually look like. I know your voice.
I do because I've been on Instagram.
I think this is the first one ever done outside. Maybe second. It happens so rarely.
Yeah, we're trying to, we thought it was a nice day out. The rain just finished, and hopefully it'll stay that way. And
yeah. Okay, wait. Start by telling me where you are. You're in upstate New York, but where in upstate New York are you?
We are on the deck of our cabin in Hyggeland.
Okay. Yeah, and the town is in New Lebanon, New York. So that's like, what do you call it? Of the Berkshires?
I say the New York side of the Berkshires.
Yeah, so it's Berkshires, but like on the New York side.
Yeah.
So that is not. You're not near. Do you know Glen Falls, New York?
Yeah, not that.
Not that direction. Okay. I'm going there on Tuesday. So I was curious how close you were to where I was going to be.
Cool. Yeah. Glen Falls is like upstate New York, but like western upstate. We are just dead north of New York City.
Do you know Hudson? Hudson's a popular.
Yeah.
It's Hudson and then like 45 minutes more north.
Okay. Perfect. This is helpful for anyone listening so that if you're looking to go to a cabin in New York, now you know exactly where you're located.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped to talk to you guys because you built your own cabin, which is rare and a unique feat in itself. And talking to folks who've been through those challenges, I think, is really helpful for those listeners who are in the deciding phase. Am I going to hire someone? Am I going to buy a place? Am I going to build a place? What am I going to do? I would love to go back to the beginning. Like, when did this dream start for the two of you? Where you was it cabin first, then build? Or was it always the dream to build your own place?
Yeah, definitely always the dream to build our own place. And that was, like many people, born out of COVID.
Yeah. Kind of the story began like during COVID, you can't go anywhere except like outside. And so we were doing a lot of outdoor activities and, traveling by car and doing like nature-y things. And we ended up staying at one of Sarah's friends' cabin. Her name is Kate. And we just kind of fell in love with the idea of like, this is great to like have people over and just hang out and enjoy nature.
And that specific weekend, it was like the first weekend of November, and we were at her cabin. It was after we had gone to my cousin's place up in like Burlington, Vermont. And then we came down farther, and then we went to actually the Glens Falls area for a Halloween party. And then we ended up in PA for a cabin. And we're just like car ride to, cabin to nature to this and that. We're like, geez, this is nice. We need to do this.
Yeah. And so that's kind of seed was planted then. And we looked up Den Outdoors and we were looking at it, like, wow, this is, it seems very possible. They have amazing pictures and that just kind of fueled the fire a little bit more. And, there's a lot of changes happening around COVID time. So there's more time. more time to like research and study on YouTube and figure things out, and that's kind of where the first step kind of began.
Yeah, it was really Den Outdoors captivated us to build a cabin.
Yeah.
And to build one specifically like this. At that Halloween party, actually, we met somebody, a mutual friend, who introduced us to Den. So it was like within that 48 hours, we were like, oh my word!
Right.
Like,
within 48 hours, we learned about Den. We experienced the cabin, experienced with friends, and so those two connected together, and like we had resources to look into, and that's kind of how it started.
Okay, so we haven't interviewed anyone, I don't think, who's built a Den cabin. So can you talk about what you learned in that phase that made, because building is very intimidating, but it sounds like the Den value proposition made it feel less intimidating. Can you maybe share a little bit about what you learned?
Yeah. Do you want me to do it? Or?
I mean, for me, it was like, it really, ripped the Band-Aid off. You know, like you can buy plans and boom, you have a house technically that you can potentially build. And instead of starting from the drafting of like a brand new place from the ground up of like, where is this wall going to go? Where is this bathroom going to go? Where is this window going to go? We just started somewhere. And that really helped catapult us to like, okay, now we can customize it. Now we can picture where it would sit on a piece of property. Now we can, see what part of it will be our favorite. And we want to cater everything to that, that foundation really, really helped us. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because there's so many pieces at that stage that it can be really overwhelming. So to take one of them and have it off your plate a little bit, maybe makes it feel more or less intimidating.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of folks who are like wanting the end result, but don't know how to get there, it's a great place to start because they have wonderful renderings and pictures, floor plans, and then you can purchase the plans. You can use that and edit it from there instead of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
You can even get like information for like the electrical and HVAC and like finishes, places to brands to like consider getting stuff for your build. So like gives you a lot of ideas. It might not give you all the answers, but it just kind of gives you a lot more clarity in terms of like what you might want to do. Yes. And if you don't know what to do, that's why it's so easy. You can just kind of pick like, wow, that one, that looks awesome. I love it. Let's just try to do that one.
Yeah.
You bought at least three plans.
Three plans before we really decided with one of them.
Yeah.
And then
I don't think that's a bad idea.
No.
Because you don't know until you see multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We originally started with a potential A-frame. And I still like the idea of an A-frame. It's really popular. But at the end of the day, we wanted more space. And we also felt like, we want something that could really last a lifetime. And we don't want like A-frames to eventually be like old or like not cool anymore or something. Not to say it will, but like just like something more traditional might be safer maybe. So
they're very trendy.
Yeah.
Right.
As well as like
we love them though.
A lofted bed. I mean, that's going to be cool for a number of years, and then it's going to be a nuisance.
Could be,
right. Like
just
I don't want
to.
Exactly. Like I want to be here in my house at 70 years old and not climbing a ladder to get in bed.
Yeah, we can like retire here. Kind of. That's what we wanted at least.
Yes.
Because it was a goal of both having a place of our own that we can share. And to be in the future if we wanted to, and also for short-term rental. It wasn't just only short-term rental because that a lot of people would do that,
or only permanent address,
right? Or only a permanent home. So we wanted to find something that fit both buckets.
Yeah. So okay, I want to ask about that. I have more questions about the build, but I do want to ask about that because this makes you very unique from most people we've talked to in the sense that you live in the cabin, except when it's rented. How does that work? And what that was obviously your original plan. When you first thought about that, how did you think it was going to work? And then now that you've launched it, how is it actually working?
Well, we're booked a lot more than we expected.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Way more than expected.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. It was like every day in July, every day in August. And then last September, it's like when school started, it was hit only the weekends. And so we got our lives back, like Monday through Thursday or whatever. We have every single day in September, every single day in October booked. So we don't live here as much seasonally.
Where do you go?
I have an apartment down in Westchester, New York.
So we drive down there. It's about a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Kind of getting used to it now. But it wasn't easy because initially we didn't think that far ahead. We just like, oh, we got it. We're just excited for all the good stuff. We didn't think of all the potential problems logistically and calendar wise. So we didn't plan everything for that, but we did plan, for example, extra storage spaces because we know that, when we come in and go, we got to put it somewhere else. You want to, what's the word? Not declutter, but like personalize, I guess might be the word.
Oh yeah.
Where you don't see like the family's pictures everywhere, and their things everywhere, right? We want it to be like a place like a resort you go to. And so to do that, we needed to create extra spaces and so forth. But we really learned from experiencing short-term rental and having to turn over quickly. And we eventually created systems in place that help us to turn over very, very easily. So we have specific drawers throughout the house or doors that we lock, and we even have a little label on it saying, oh, it's locked for storage. And so we can easily put our things in there. Wow. And we don't have to like put it all into a closet. It's still in the kitchen or it's still in the living room,
And we learned through short-term rentals and talking to people too, that like, people don't usually use a dresser when they come for a weekend, but they need counter space. So they need the top of a dresser. And like we specifically picked like wardrobes and places to hang things and shelves. So in each room, yes, there's a dresser, but that's the locked storage for us because, people aren't moving into drawers and they're harder to clean, honestly, drawers instead of a countertop. So like those specific choices were definitely made along the way, as well as just every nook and cranny was utilized for storage. And how that differed after the build versus when we were building it. I mean, when we were building the house, we were still driving every single weekend to come and build it. So that didn't change.
2.5 hours one way. So we were very committed.
And that's still our commute. And that's still as frequent as we do it. We're here at least once a week, for a 4-hour turnover. We're still here, because
wait, are you turning it over yourself?
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to get into. Well, for the longest time, we had turned it over ourselves. And I find that totally normal. But apparently when I talk to more people, it's very not normal. It's very surprising.
That sounds exhausting.
Your expression, you're like, wait a minute, you turn it all over yourself. So
okay, well, there's two pieces here. One, the only bad reviews I've ever gotten on cleaning were when I cleaned it. So part of it is you have to have that skill set. Yeah, I'm just not a good cleaner. My attention to detail, I'm like, it's fine. Yeah.
Man,
but
so
secondly, you have to
about
get
that.
there.
Yeah.
I think we're better than our cleaners most of the time.
So like
I mean, they do it in 2 hours, and when we do it, it takes us 6 hours. Like it's the whole day.
And at the end, like because it's yours and your love and passion is into it, you're a little bit more motivated. Not to say our cleaner is bad, but we're just more into the details and want to make sure that the bottles are facing the right way and the lighting.
I do stuff like that. I just don't notice like the dog hair on things because I live like that all the time. So I just don't even notice it in the same way.
And our place is dog friendly, so like we still get all that, do the best we can, and no one's going to say anything bad about that yet.
What I will say though is since we have become so busy, we turn around ourselves less. If we're here for 5 days before somebody comes in, that's plenty of time for us to clean up and do the laundry. But on a single turnover day, we always have a cleaner for that. As well as sometimes lately, it's like we will still have the cleaner because if we're there and we have the hours, we're doing all the other maintenance. We're chopping the wood, we're gathering the sticks, we're like doing the gardens, we're watering the plants, like all of those to-dos we don't give to our cleaners. So they still are what we do during the turnovers.
But for the record,
it's harder to find someone to do those things.
Yes,
absolutely. It is. We're still doing it ourselves, which is why we're always busy. Like there's always some like home ownership. Like it's no joke. Like you always have something to fix or do, improve because we always want to improve. And I was just going to say that for the record, the first year at least of short-term rentals, I was basically cleaning it like 99% of all the turnovers. And even currently, because I do have some obligations. This is like my full-time address. So I have obligations around here. So currently when this is booked, I have classes I have to take. So I actually rent another Airbnb nearby. Or someone else is staying in this one. But yeah.
Okay, I hope it's a lot less expensive so that this makes sense for you, that you're making money off of that in order to pay for another one. Yeah.
It's way less. So.
Because you're a volunteer firefighter in your community, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I forgot I mentioned that. That's what I was referring to, like my commitment to that. And I'm doing certain courses and stuff, and I want to be available here too. And But yeah, I just kind of started that a few months ago, and it's been a great way to just like give myself some purpose because I kind of retired from personal training ever since it started, and also have a better sense of community and be able to like contribute back to the place. Because one thing I'm really big on is I know a lot of people like do short-term rentals, and not that it's a bad thing, but sometimes they don't put a lot of effort to provide back to the community. It's more like for themselves, and that's totally fine. You know, they can do as they wish. But I really want to not be the city guy that's moved up there and is only up here for the weekends or whatever. I want to be the guy that actually lives here and provides. It shows that like I can Airbnb it and provide a great provide an asset to the community.
That's why that stuck out to me when I read that. I like loved that because I think, you know, short-term rentals get a lot of shit for, and fair enough, some people just taking from a community, but I do think there's a lot of really good hosts who think like you do and think about how do I give back to the community that I love. That's why I built something here. I love this community. And I've never heard someone go as far as volunteer firefighting. That feels like next level from what I've heard from other folks.
We always go next level. Oops, sorry.
We also really try to promote our community. Like this weekend, we have guests coming literally today at 6 p.m. And so we were driving around town yesterday and we saw a sign, you know, stuck in the ground that says farm tour this weekend in Chatham, New York. And so I took a picture and I, you know, sent it to our guests.
To our guests coming in.
You know, because if there's some type of festival, if there's some type of ticketed event, if there's some type of farmers market event, like I want to give that to my guests so that when they're here, they're not just here and they're, you know, going to the commercial places, they're going to the small businesses as well.
Yeah, they love that. They're like, that's so cool. You know, I want to go check it out. You know?
And that's what makes staying at an Airbnb, from my perspective, different than staying at a hotel, is that you can help connect people to beyond just what the tourist magazines will tell you, but here's what the locals know. And I think that's a huge benefit of it. Okay, I don't want to miss out on this huge build that you did yourself. So you've mentioned that you went up every weekend to build. So it sounds like you did, I'm guessing, the majority, if not all of it yourself. But I would love for you to share how that breakdown happened. When you bought the plans, did you know that you yourself were going to build it? Or did you think about hiring a builder? How did you make that decision?
Well, I grew up in a very handy kind of household. I grew up in New Hampshire. I had, you know, at least 3 additions done to my house. My dad's a carpenter, fix-it of all kinds of guys. My mom is very independent, very handy, landscaper, gardener. So like I knew that I wanted to be a part of it. Absolutely. There was no way I was going to let somebody else just build this and I was going to show up and be like, wow, that's great. So that was definitely the motivation. And then, however, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. I can teach myself a lot of things, but there are no way that we're going to build a structurally sound house. There needs to be licensed plumbers and electricians and all that. So we definitely, we did hire a GC that had a team of, I think, 3 carpenters. And then we hired, you know, the plumber, the electric, you know, the foundation, the septic, all of those subcontractors we absolutely did hire, but we were still here, you know, swinging hammers, helping manage things. And one thing we always like to say is, like, you see behind us, like every single piece of wood in this home, he sanded and I stained. Like
we touched every piece and cut a lot of, just to kind of add to that too. We did try to do a lot of it ourselves, but at the end of the day, we knew we couldn't really pull that off in a good way. So we did hire somebody just for put credit on. His name is Nick DeSantis. Amazing guy. Really helped us kind of transport the love that we had and our vision into reality. And but we were here every day to like do what we can. We usually do like the easier labor type work while they do the more skilled stuff. But there was never a day at the time when we come up here and there's like nothing to do. There's always something to do. Whether it's like landscaping stuff or the actual building stuff. So it was, and we got kind of basically got all the subcontractors and Sarah did an amazing job just project management in terms of just lining things up. And it was
that's the hard work.
Yeah, we had a GC, but we did not have a project manager. That was us. So that is definitely a contractor that if anyone hasn't built a house before and very intimidated by it, that's a person that's worth investing in, I'm going to say. And we were definitely here, and it's like, it was just, you know, we'll get into it, I'm sure, but decision fatigue. So when we're here, you know, the GC is saying like, how do you want this trim? And I'm like, I don't know, just put it up. And he's like, no, but like it could be 5/8, or it could be 3/8, and it could overhang this much. And you're like,
have a certain shape to it. You look it up on Google, there's like 20 different trims.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I didn't know there was even that many.
And needing to make those decisions on the spot and in a timely manner keeps the entire team running. So when we weren't there and they were like, well, we can't put the tub in and decide where the spigot goes until you're here. And then we're like, okay, well, we'll be there in 2 days. Those types of decisions were also the hands on deck why we were here constantly. And it's a huge part about a build. You can just turn it over to somebody to do. But one, you need to communicate if that's your expectation, because our GC was not willing to do that kind of stuff, make those decisions for us.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you have to trust the GC who has the technical know-how with the design and vision piece of it. And I hired my whole build out, and my builder was my cousin, luckily. But I still had to make a lot of decisions, because it's still ultimately, he's like, what kind of siding do you want? And I had that same feeling, Sarah. I was like, what do you mean? What kind of siding? And suddenly I'm going down like a Pinterest hole of like cedar siding versus wood siding versus.
You got to start researching everything. Yep.
Yes. And it's functionality, it's cost, but it's also how is this going to look, and how does that look go with the other design decisions? So it's all of them coming together.
And it's so and then hard. Sometimes it's lead times and weather.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
inventory. And
especially
also,
during COVID.
Yeah.
And also I think it depends on the person. I know people that, they say, we have the resources, build this house for us. We don't want to be involved. Just make it look like this and we'll be happy. And that's totally good too. And that exists. But for us, finances was a very limited resource. And so we tried to work extra hard to do a lot of stuff ourselves in terms of decision making. And what that ended up being happening is we basically pretty much every single detail we researched and decided on. And that was a lot of decisions there. So
it is way more work than people think. People might hear like, all you had to do was make a decision, and it's like, no. This is way harder than you think. And I guess everything. Okay, so I have 2 follow-up questions on this. First, I want to talk about the project management, which is so not sexy, but I'm super obsessed with it. Sarah, do you have any favorite tools, or like how did you keep all of those pieces moving in a way that you knew what you had to follow up on, what decisions you had to make, who the contact person was? Like, do you have any favorite tools you want to share with people for how you did that?
I mean, we got a mean spreadsheets.
We don't have like a certain site or a program we use. I'm sure that exists, but we're just old school. And we use tons of spreadsheets. Google Drive stuff.
The Microsoft To Do app. So I can make lots of lists, and then I can check things off.
Endless lists.
But then I can have subcategories for different lists, and then I can star them. So then I know, like, when we on the ride up, often I would look at our list, and then I would star the ones that have to be done before we leave. Because you can look at a list and be like, let's do all of it, and this will be no problem. And I want to do that one, but it's like these other 3 are actually the priority and not the sexy ones, and you have to do those. So some of those
story of my life.
But I mean, if I were to do it again, I think I would have other systems in place, having done it once with no systems or learning on the fly. But we got by with that.
This is why I always ask that question, because I feel like I've done it multiple times now. So I have like real streamlined systems, but the first time it's impossible for you to have that unless you're a project manager by day. You just have to figure out, and even every build is different. So some of my old systems aren't working as well for our new project. So you have to constantly iterate. But I love asking that question to see, so that folks who've never done it have at least something to start with of what are the tools that you use. Okay, then my second question is the finance piece. At the very beginning of a build, it's so daunting. How did you, like the budgeting part is daunting to know, 1, can I afford this? 2, where are we cutting costs? Where are we spending? And then 3, how you actually execute without going way over budget. You can talk as big picture or as detailed as you want to about this, but how did you handle that from the beginning to where you finished?
Can I start with this? So finances is a tricky one, because there's many ways to do it and everybody's situation is different. But I think there's generally one common thing that everybody will experience, and that is that whatever budget you think you're going to hit, it's going to be more. I have not heard a single person that says, oh, we hit it on the spot. Oh, you know what? Oh, it went under budget.
Can you imagine?
I know, right? Oh, we have enough to build another one.
I saved money. No.
I saved money doing this. So the one always managed that. And for us, we we weren't. There's one way of doing it where you can agree on a set price with your builder, and then we'll try our best to stay within that range. We actually went the route where we're doing it by hourly.
Yeah.
And we'll try to do the best that we can to make the choices to minimize the time and do a lot of the work ourselves if we can.
Right.
That way too, we can try to save money that way.
Because if we were doing it by hour and paying these guys to stain every board, there's no way. Like we had to be here to cut the costs in that way. And I think that's a more unconventional way to pay a contractor, but it was also COVID and everyone was busy and everyone's driving up prices. So everyone that we were talking to were like, yeah, we'll do it hourly. So any listeners, I would highly recommend not doing it that way.
Well, that would be my question. Like, what were the downsides? Because it feels like they can't give you a cost at the beginning. So then how do you plan for what the cost is going to be?
That's the thing that was tricky for us. And it's maybe a little more unique is we had a rough idea based off of the den plans, for example, that helped. And then, we start estimating things. We start researching, well, how much wood do we need? Or, we just lots of research. Because none of that stuff we knew by heart. And of course, with the GC, you can ask them, like, hey, how much is this costing? He'll be able to get a little better idea of compared to us. But in short, we didn't have a clear end number. And that was kind of the scary part. Like, we didn't know exactly how much it would end up being. We just were so driven to create this dream that we'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And we'll do our best to keep the cost as low as possible too.
We said, Matt really bet the farm on it because it's like, once we got in there, we ran out of money once and we need to refinance and this and that. Like there was still no option to not do it.
Well, once you start, that's what makes it so hard. Which, is very difficult for a lot of people. I don't recommend that, but it's just what we had to do. We had to figure out. And one number that I think we would recommend looking at is the cost per build per foot in your area. So in our area, we just asked like realtors and there was a number floating around like 300, 350 or whatever. And Den had their own number, which I forget now. But ours ended up being much higher, more like 500 per square foot. Same.
Yeah, same.
Oh, I feel
so,
better.
Okay. So it's like if you don't want to just get the cheapest dollar store, quote unquote, value of finishes or products, because like those are the types of products that you're going to have to replace later.
Right.
So we by no means did we pick only luxury finishes. We did not. We cut so many corners. But we also we were, I like to say we just fell in the middle of that cheap and luxury, and it was still at 500 per square foot. And that's what, we calculated with our square footage to be like, can we do this? I don't know. So.
Well, because there's this tension of, especially if you're going to rent it, those small decisions do add up to what you can charge per night, to what your occupancy looks like. And by the fact that you're outperforming your original expectations, it tells me that you made a lot of the right decisions. But it can be really hard to know what the right decisions are mid-build when you're faced with refinancing a house in order to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty, but in some ways, that's kind of how life is, right? You don't know exactly what's going to happen, and you just have to do your best, make the best decisions you can, and it's amount of this. It's basically kind of comes down to the amount of effort and commitment and determination you have to create what you want. And thankfully, we were very, very, very committed, and I think because of that, pretty much I would say like 90% of our guests have either messaged or left in our guest book or in some communication that said like, wow, they really thought of a lot of details. You can tell they put a lot of thought into this house. And I'm actually not even sure what that might mean because all of it's thought out, but it clearly did show. It translated over.
Yeah. And they say it's really built with love. And that's our
that's like our slogan, built with love, because it's so true. We put so much love into it. And matter of fact, our cement, we have cement floors and polished cement floors. We engraved built with love in there when it was poured.
Yeah.
And it's there in the living room still. So.
I love that. If you're dreaming about a cabin build or are in the midst of a build, or you just bought a place and are getting ready to host for the very first time, regardless of where you are, sometimes you just need a little help along the way. Shared experiences from someone who's been there, advice from someone who's learned a lot of lessons the hard way. That's me. or a cheerleader as you finish up. All of these reasons are exactly why I started offering cabin consultations to our Instagram followers and friends who could use some specific one-on-one help. I can't promise to solve all your problems, but I can promise to be transparent about our build costs and process, our organization and project management systems, our favorite and least favorite tools for renting, how we market, and how we found ourselves with almost 80,000 Instagram followers and 100% occupancy in our first year of hosting at Cozy Rock. So if that sounds like it might help you, feel free to visit us at staycozycabin.com or on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin and sign up for a time to chat there. It's so interesting to talk because I talk to most folks when they're at the end of the build, which makes sense. That's when it feels like the best time to talk about it on a podcast. But I'm actually really interested about the mid-build process because when you go through the hard things at the end, it all paid off. It's worth it. We're booked. We're doing great. But mid-build, it's not guaranteed it's going to end that way, you know? And I think the reality of like what the middle of the build feels like is some people listening right now are there, right? We get messages like I listen every time we're driving up to the cabin on the weekends to work on our build. And they're like in the thick of it right now. Like, what would you tell them having been through that yourself and being at the other side now?
Pace yourself. This project is also one of those things that takes a lot longer than you want it to. And we built relatively fast, I think, start to finish. You know, we kind of say it's like 2 years, which talking to most people, they say, wow, that's fast. And we absolutely experienced burnout. And that really altered and put a strain on our relationship, as well as just, you know, the passion behind the project. So like absolutely listen to yourself still and like take a day off, take a weekend off and talk to your partner about that and just really keep in tune with your needs and how much you can actually show up for this. And you don't want to get to the end of it and like resent it or have lose your relationship over it or, you know, not be able to come back because it's just too painful. Like you don't want that. So just pace yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys are getting married in October. So this like is very reminiscent of my build because Sean and I were only dating when we started it. Then we got engaged during the build and then we ended up getting married at the cabin after the build. Whereas most people though, most people get married when they start a project like this. So I think your point about the relationship is really an important one, especially considering the stage of your relationship during it. Like you weren't married yet at that point and you were still like in the earlier stages of, or actually, I don't know how long you've been together.
Like a year-ish.
Well, we've been together.
Okay.
Oh, back then, you're right.
Yeah.
So when we started,
we were actually in Hudson and we went to the office to sign and close over on the property on our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's so early.
Yeah. And it's our anniversary day is the same day that we signed the land contract to start.
I love that.
This land.
Okay, and you've made it, so that's good. How did your relationship change throughout the build? Being that, like, what did you learn about each other? Because you hadn't probably been through many hard things yet. At a year, it's very much like that we're getting to know each other. This is fun and exciting. And a build is like, okay, hello, real life, like right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our foundation started during COVID. You know, we started dating May 2020. So we already had a different entrance to a relationship, I'm going to say, that required us to communicate a lot, but also like have boundaries and, you know, really take into account somebody's needs and someone's health and like someone's family and like those types of things. So I'm very grateful for that type of foundation. And along the way, we just were really quick to learn each other's strengths as well as how each other communicates and how to help each other, I guess. What do you think?
It's hard to give relationship advice because it's so different. But there is one thing for sure. If you want to test your relationship, go to the house.
I know. I agree.
It is a trial by fire for sure. And we're grateful that we came out of it good and better.
I think that's why it's interesting to me that it was such a new relationship because I haven't really met anyone else besides us, I don't think, who did it that early and their relationship. And for us, I was doing it. It was like, I didn't ask Sean's permission. It was my decision. Like my grandparents died. I inherited money and I was like, I am building a cabin in Maine. And I was like, so you're either along for the ride or you're not. Cause it was early enough that we weren't committed. I wasn't making life decisions around him yet. Gotcha. And he luckily was like, yes, I'm along for the ride. But that also changed the dynamic though. I didn't have to compromise as much. If we disagreed on a decision, I would be like, okay, well, my vote wins, which isn't the healthiest way to do it, to be clear.
Right. But it worked though. So
but it's different when it's a newer relationship versus you're married, you're financially going in together. Like that feels a little bit different than. Can I ask how you met? Because May of 2020, we were like in quarantine.
Yeah. It's I'll try to give the short version of this. I met her, first time I met her was at the gym that I was working at. This is in Union Square. And at the time I was a trainer and, I do my work very professionally. So I don't like approach people there and, try to flirt or whatever. But I noticed her, really caught my eye, but I wanted to like have a conversation, like say hi or something, but I was a little too nervous to do it, a little intimidated. So I saw
that he wanted to say hi and I had no interest. So I made sure to not give him an opening.
Yep. So she made it hard, but I was like nearby with my phone pretending like, I just wanted her to finish her run. So I can like walk by like, hey, how you doing? Or something. Yeah. But I didn't get a chance to do that. So being the very normal person that I am, I looked on Instagram to try to see if I could find her.
That is a normal thing to do, Matt. That is normal.
I know. So Sarah was doing a thing where she can get a free day pass or something because she does modeling. And then if she posts something, then she can get the free day pass or something. Yeah. So I thought, she's probably one of them. And so I looked up our Jim's Instagram and I found her and I followed her. But that was it. I never thought about it ever again.
And to clarify, that was January 2020.
This is before COVID. Did you notice that he had followed you? And were you like, or I mean, you didn't notice? Okay.
Yeah, I just kind of.
So you didn't think anything of it?
Yeah. And so fast forward a few months, everyone's stuck at home doing nothing, and everyone's on a computer and stuff. And I came across a post of you making masks, like making your own mask and stuff. And I thought that's really cool. It's like, oh, that's that girl from the gym. And
you're like, she's beautiful and she has a big heart.
Yeah, and it was just and just for the record, I've tried every dating app in the world. I've even go way back to what's that, Yahoo Personals? If anyone's speed dating and all kinds of stuff. Nothing has worked. So I didn't have a lot of expectations. So I thought, I'm gonna shoot her a message and be like, hey, hey, those are nice masks.
And it was
kind of how it started.
And I was making masks. So any DM about a mask, I was like, hey, yeah, you want one?
So that was my way in.
That's a good way because you are more responsive if you're handing out masks. You're like, this is very early in COVID. Yeah.
So.
And I was just, I still say, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And she responded, we started talking and one thing led to another. And actually, maybe we don't have to go too far into this, but like our first date was in a parking lot.
6 feet apart.
Because during COVID, I mean, I am curious about this because it's such a weird time to date.
It totally is. But you know what? It was that weirdness that made our foundation of our relationship so strong and unique, I think, because we didn't do the usual, hey, let's meet up at a bar or a restaurant, kind of thing.
It took us 6 months before we had a dinner date.
Yeah. And so
the world was just different.
Yeah.
But it feels like a lot of conversation. Like you probably like FaceTimed and did like a lot of things like that before. Yeah. So it just changes how you get to know each other.
I still remember one of the earlier things we did was like a Zoom game night or something. And we tried like Pictionary on Zoom. So I'll try to draw something, she'll try to draw something, we'll try to guess. We even tried to play like hide and seek. So like we'll put the camera in a certain way in our room or wherever we are. And then like the other person has to close their eyes, right? And then we'll hide. And then you try to find her in that like Where's Waldo almost. Except being in New York City, our apartments are tiny. So there's not a lot of places to hide. Yeah. So there was one time I still remember it was like her bedroom and I opened my eyes and she hid. And basically she was just like behind the door, but I can totally see her. She's just like frozen.
I didn't have
She was totally in the there was nowhere to hide. But
I love this. This was the creativity that was needed.
Yeah. I made it different and unique. We exposed ourselves and communicated better, and it was
once
better.
a couple months in, that's what really led us to starting to do road trips and travel to see my family in New Hampshire and Vermont, and friends in PA, and like that. Now we're going on road trips together, and that's a great bonding time, and to return to places that I am so passionate about, being in the Northeast and nature and woods. I mean, this guy is more of a city guy. He went to Central Park to see his foliage, so I had to change that.
Which, for the record, I thought was so awesome. But I grew up in Hong Kong, which is like Manhattan, basically.
An incredible city, yeah.
Then LA. And then went to New York. But my family, my background is definitely not outdoorsy, not handsy in any way. So this project really changed who I am, and I loved kind of becoming like a, I don't know, East Coast, Northeast guy.
Blue collar.
It's a cultural identity.
It is, and I love it. I love being more blue collar. I really like to own that. And I still remember that one of the first days I didn't even know how to use a circular saw. And now we're building our own platform. We're building our own stage where we're going to be standing for our wedding. It's I love who we are now through everything we've been through.
Well, and I need to contrast this, Matt, your description of yourself in the city with Sarah. You are a competitive sledder.
Yes. Oh my God.
I had never heard of this until I looked it up. So can you?
Neither have I.
People? Can you please tell the people?
Everybody else go look it up. Mad River Rockets. They were invented in Vermont, and it's something that my sister and I grew up doing. We grew up on 45 acres, and we had a network of like at least 7 trails, and we would sled down and then snowmobile back up. So that made it really enjoyable. And we would, our birthdays in December, so we would have sledding parties, and we would pile, 8 children on a snowmobile. I had my snowmobile license before I had my driver's license. And it's just literally something we still do today. Like every single winter, every February, March, we gather as many friends as we can, and we drive all the way up to my dad's property in Vermont now. And he has like 3 trails. It's a much smaller establishment, whatever, but it still, plays into our childlike side. And we are just so passionate about it, and I love it.
Yeah,
it just like tells me. Oh, go ahead.
For like listeners who don't know it and have trouble visualizing, because I had trouble visualizing it when she first explained it to me. Yeah. But basically, like, you're on your knees on this sled that's designed to go faster and more mobile than a typical sled you might think of,
as well as sharper steering, because it's got double cut edge, and it's got a monorail, and you strap in.
Yeah, it's simple but also very advanced. Yeah. And but basically, we go down like a trail, but it's covered in snow, so it's almost like what do you call that? Bobsled, I think.
Yeah.
A luge, whatever.
Oh, luge. Those are really nimble.
Yeah. So, but it's not like that small of a pipe that we're going down on. But basically, we have a trail of snow, and we're kind of turning and weaving and doing all the way down, and then
the snowmobile like grades it as we go, so it's nice and groomed, and it's super
cool. You can even if you go fast enough, you can do little jumps and grinds and all kinds of stuff.
I just like comparing this mental image versus Matt, the way you described yourself growing up in like a city like Hong Kong, which is incredible, but it is a city.
It is different.
To New Hampshire, so different,
huge difference. Which is why I love where Sarah came from. Like in the beginning, and she's in many ways she's just handier than me. Like I might have the physical strength to I don't know, screw in something really hard or whatever. But like at the end of the day, she's still more like capable and handy than I am. And but I love, that was one thing I really kind of took on is kind of where she came from, her history, and her family that are all handy people. Some people are builders and engineers and so forth, and gardeners, and I really took that on, and it really kind of created a new identity for me, and that really gave me more of just something like, I'm really proud of who I am right now with the things I know I can do, and I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't have a cabin if it wasn't because of Sarah. Because if I never met her, I think I'll still be in the city doing city stuff, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I think I wouldn't be enjoying life the way I am now.
And it speaks to how someone debating if they want to build a house or not, or a cabin, it's like, it has the potential to change your entire life. and for the better, and expose you to different things. And that's a really, really great reward we got from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I what I hear you saying is it's not just the cabin has the potential to change your life, though it sounds like that has too, but the process of building the cabin is actually, Matt, what it sounds like had the biggest impact on you, what you gained through that very hard process, but it actually fundamentally changed who you are.
Yeah. And I'm going to say also that that was a huge, huge piece of it for me, that I loved to watch you learn and discover the entire way, because Matt is really motivated to self-teach himself. So he was, on YouTube constantly looking up new ways to do things and whatever. And it's like to build a house, like having no foundation, no knowledge of it, but his, desire to learn and coachability is a huge piece that made this project successful. So also knowing ahead of time, is that the type of person you are, that you want to learn things and that doesn't get you frustrated and that motivates you instead? That's a huge asset. And if it's not there, then building a house might be really tough.
Yeah. What a green flag, though. Going back to the fact that you were early in your relationship, you got to see that side of him that many people don't see until deep into a relationship. And if it's a red flag, it's like, wait, is it too late? I hadn't seen that yet. And you got that glimpse very early on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned YouTube and that you gained a lot from YouTube, but I want to mention your YouTube channel because you documented some parts of the build. And I actually think, even though I noticed you haven't updated it in a while, I think the videos that you created, though, are very helpful resources that I want to call out for people who are listening that they might benefit from. But can you talk about why you decided to document some of that via YouTube? Who was kind of the motor behind that?
That was kind of like my project. And the thought of doing it is still a lot of fun. Something about it, being creative and creating like your own little YouTube episode is just so appealing to me. And so I learned, self-taught everything in terms of like, how do you get good lighting? What kind of good cameras, and how do you do the editing and so forth? And so the main reason why we wanted to do that, or I wanted to do that, was because I wanted to document our journey. It's, things on YouTube should be there forever. So it'd be kind of cool, like, we're old and gray and so forth, and we're like showing our grandkids or whoever, and be like, hey, go to this YouTube channel. This is from like however many years ago. This is our journey, and it will share knowledge, but it will kind of like put us in eternity in some way of one of our biggest journeys. So it was a lot of fun, and I wanted to make it more like a vlog style where we're doing. It's not just like, oh, here's an episode of how you do this, but like it could be like, we teach you things, but also show you what we're doing today and what we're getting and where we're at. I have to say now too that we didn't continue doing it because we just got a little too busy.
Too much.
So hard.
Yeah, it's so hard to set everything up just so you can do this. You have to be doing more stuff. It's like, put the camera away. We got to finish this job before it's dark.
I mean, we took so much content that has still never seen the light of day. So who knows? Maybe later there could be some other episodes pop up in there. Who knows?
But even the ones that you did, right? There's like a couple on here, but they're still helpful. And they have several thousand views because when people Google them, and Matt, it kind of feels like you're giving back because you use YouTube so much to learn your skills. And so even if there's only a couple that are giving back, other people who are searching these things can watch what you learned from it and benefit from it.
Absolutely. I was thinking that too, because it's like, to every video he made about something, he himself watched a dozen YouTube videos. So therefore, this is the condensed version of what he took away from each of them that applied to our specific situation. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love that. I just wanted to note that because I do think it's helpful. I really enjoyed seeing them. But we only have 10 minutes left. So I want to get to the hosting part a little bit and just share like what the last couple years have been like through the hosting process, what you've learned, like any surprises or unexpected things you've learned from the hosting side of it.
Well, I'm going to say this podcast is a huge resource for me in hosting. Little plug there, because there have been things that we learned and used and utilized, and then they were successful for us. One thing being like the first summer we rented, it was very busy. We were super excited about that, but it was nothing like this year. And one thing we did in the beginning of the year was set our summer with a 5-day minimum. That's something I heard from you guys. And then it ended up being filled with 5-day minimums. And then
big difference.
And then things canceled every once in a while. And then people would send us messages to be like, will you please make an exception? And like, so other things like fell into place like that, which is totally great. And we still have like a 3-day minimum moving forward into the rest of the season, which I'm stunned has worked in every weekend in November, which is like, you're going into the holidays, which is crazy. So that's been a hosting strategy that has been very successful for us.
One thing I took away also from your podcast is the unicorn, workhorse, and I forgot what their donkey. And I didn't even I didn't know that sort of, it made a lot of sense when I heard about it. And I didn't realize that we were basically managing or hosting a unicorn, because we are so hands-on. It's so kind of pushed towards premium. At least that's what we're trying to do. And it's a lot more work, a lot more personal. But that made a lot of sense to me. It's like, oh, that's why I'm working so hard. But at the same time, that's also why you can, I think you can charge more of a premium, because it's creating a premium experience. And I think because we put so much of us into it, people see it and notice it, and because of that, they respect the place more. And knock on wood, there's lots of wood here. Knock on wood, we've had like pretty much zero problem guests. Pretty much
very
all the
little.
guests have been amazing, very happy. They love what we're doing, but we put the effort to be more personal. We respond to things really easily, and we share our social stuff. And so usually I think people, when they leave, they kind of know the story a little bit, if not a lot. They move into it. We even have QR codes to like, hey, you can do this and go into our Instagram and see see the journey.
Another thing I've learned is that I do much prefer to host couples and friends over families. And, it's like, I think some people are like, ooh, I don't know, a friend group, they're going to throw a party. They're going to be ragers. They're going to be irresponsible. But it's like the amount of toys I've just had to like pull out of the couch and behind the TV is just like, what?
We're still,
where's the supervision?
We're still finding like pieces of board game stuff here and there, like Jenga tiles or Scrabble tiles.
We have a huge game shelf, and just every single box torn open and ripped and just shuffled, and you're like, what the heck? So that I have not enjoyed more than I expected.
I know. Also, for hosts without kids, it's just like, for me, it's just this like unfamiliar world. And I also feel the parents, because one of our cabins hosted lots of families. And I also feel that the adults are there on vacation too. And so they probably are a little bit less a little more hands off than they might be normally. Which is hard as a host, but it's like, in their mind, they want to be on vacation too. And then, it's hard. It's got to be hard to parent.
Otherwise,
but that's a good takeaway.
Yeah. And otherwise, because our build is unique where we do live here a lot of the time, we really have set it up to feel like you have everything you need where you need it. Anticipate where it is. Like, oh, I need an umbrella. Where is it? It's by the door. I need a flashlight. Oh, it's probably in a junk drawer. Or like, we set, phone charger cables at every bedside, so you don't have to even bring yours and plug it in and forget it.
Yeah, I love that. That was my idea.
If I want to live here, I want it to be seamless. I want it to be set up, and that's exactly how we want it to feel and is left for our guests.
Yeah. And a takeaway from that could be like, maybe you'll never live in your cabin, but stay at your cabin. If you haven't already designed it that way, stay there, and you will very quickly realize the things that are not ideal.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to do a quick rapid fire to end on just a couple like hot topics for hosting. Okay, direct booking. I noticed you have a direct booking site. Tell us more. Are you like huge direct booking fans? Is it hard for you? Like, how do you feel about direct booking?
I'll answer that. We use Hospitable, and that's just one of many out there, I'm sure you know. And so we have that direct booking site, but actually we don't get anything from it. We might have, I think we got like maybe 2 in the last almost 2 years.
We get more direct books through social media.
Yeah, just our conversations, people that follow us. So I know there was, maybe it still is. There was a time when there was a huge push for direct booking sites because Airbnb was trending not in a good direction, and there's more fees, and it's being a host it's starting to be a little harder. But I guess I don't know why for us it's been great, and that Airbnb is pretty much 99% of what we get, and so the direct booking site didn't really do much for us, and
so we're not against it. It's just not very popular.
Yeah. Just for, I think in our case and just how we do things, it just wasn't something we needed. And
I would totally be open to more of it because just, like anything else, we still have a contract for anybody who comes in directly so that, we can feel a little bit more secured in that, as well as, any returning guests that find us on social media, this and that. I just much prefer if they just hit me up on Instagram and we book it, instead of going through Airbnb or whatever. So because it's more of a personal, I think, kind of a communication and more of like you're arranging with your friends to like go stay at their house instead of, transactional, like I'm staying at an Airbnb. So we're open to it for sure.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Checkout procedures.
Okay.
How much do you ask your guests to do?
We do not ask them to strip the beds. And part of that is also like, I want to come in because we do so many of our turnovers and
inspect the beds,
lint roll and stain remove
them,
sheets and beds. And if it's already laid out on a bed, then I can do that a lot easier. So
and if you wash a stain and it's hard to get out afterwards, so you have to do the stain remover.
Pre-treat it.
Yeah, the first time. Otherwise, it's hard to get out.
Yeah, so definitely that.
But general stuff like we have a checkout sheet, like 5 or 6 general rules, not to be overwhelming because we don't want it to be overwhelming too.
No,
we do ask you like take out the trash and leave things where the general.
I don't even think we have to do that anymore because it's like we come in and we clean and so we put things in a trash bag. So might as well not take 2 trashes out. Like whatever.
Yeah, nothing special. Pretty basic kind of checkout procedures.
That's good. Cancellation policy. How strict are you?
7 days, I think.
I think it's the moderate one.
That doesn't even know. It doesn't happen all that often.
We actually.
I was just going to ask, how often does it happen then?
Not very. We've never had anyone cancel like last minute and not get a refund. So that's why I think ours is if you cancel
it's
outside
the default
of
setting for
7
Airbnb.
days.
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but
yeah.
This is good to hear. Mine is super strict, but we're getting punished hard for it. So I'm debating if we change it. You can't even find us in a search anymore. They've totally hidden us other than a little dot. Yeah. It's because we're expensive and I think because of our cancellation policy.
Yeah. I would opt to have a little bit more of a strict policy for us, but whatever. Because it's also like if it gets canceled, a last minute booking still usually comes in. If it doesn't, we get to live at our house.
Yes, that's another thing. Like I really miss. It's been so busy that I many times I said, we have to stop. We have to stop. Start blocking off certain days for ourselves. Yeah. So whenever the few times that there was, it'll be like, oh, thank God, I can go back and like do this and do that, and mow the lawn and other things. And, So it kind of works in our favor. Right?
Yeah. Guys, this has been so great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
thanks
much
for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is really exciting, and it's a nice kind of a refresher reminder of what sometimes you can be so busy you forget.
Yes.
You forget to be grateful for things. And I think talking about it like this helps bring that out. And I hope that we provided some good stories, useful information for the listeners. And there's still so much to talk about.
I'll tease that, after building a house, we said that was awful. We'll never do that again. And now that it's been done and it's been 2 or 3 years, we're ready to do it again. So there's a little tease.
Stay tuned.
Maybe in the next couple of years, we might start building again, and we'll talk to you mid build then to get
great. Started. That sounds perfect. We need more of those because I think so many people listening are in that stage, and it's sometimes hard to remember how hard that is and what those struggles are that you're facing. So please keep me posted and let me know when that happens.
Okay.
Will do.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us. And if you liked what you heard, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or share some of your favorite parts over on Apple Podcast. If you have feedback or suggestions for the future, you can also find me on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin. Looking forward to next week.